Hi, I'm Stephen with AlbertaUrbanGarden.ca. On today's episode, we're going to start a series called Ask Stephen. Now, I've had a great opportunity to get to know some of you and to answer some of your questions, so I figured, why not do this in video form? And so what I'm going to do from time to time is I'm going to take a couple of the questions that you've asked, I'm going to put them in a video form so that we can have an engaging discussion. Now, you don't necessarily have to ask questions on specific garden stuff. Maybe you want to know me a little bit better. Maybe you want to know how poor and terrible I am at board games. You know, every question is really open, and I'll try to address all of them. So in the last few episodes, we've spoken about the trials, we've spoken about the bricks meter, we've spoken about grow lights, and that's generated some comments and some questions. But I mean, even looking further back to some of the more general stuff, people are asking questions, and I want to be able to answer them or find someone who can answer them for you. So if you would like any questions answered, please drop it in the comment section. I'll do my best, or I'll find someone who can assist you in answering those questions. And today I've selected 3 questions, 2 from one individual and 1 from Sunny. So Matthew asks, how and when should I plant my garlic? Now, garlic is probably one of my favorite things that come out of the garden, and it's actually kind of one of the odd ones. Here in a zone where we have a winter, so pretty well anywhere down to zone 6, 7, 8 maybe is kind of where the transition is. Here in zone 3 we definitely need to do this. And what I typically do is around the 27th of September, or roughly 2 weeks before the first frost date, I'll plant my garlic. And what I'll do is I'll actually plant it in a 1 foot by 1 foot square kind of grid, or kind of like 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter, and I'll go do a 4 by 4 grid. And what that does is that puts a lot of garlic in a very small area. Now, because garlic grows straight up, doesn't produce a lot of shade, you're able to use the Mel Bartholomew's planting by square foot gardening method to get really good density in there so that you can maximize what you're pulling out. And what I do though, is I actually use the garlic that I grew this year to plant for next year as well. I select the biggest head and the biggest cloves on there, and that's what I've been doing over time to build my heirloom variety, we'll call it. And it's fast, it's simple, and really garlic requires not a lot. So what I do is I plant those bulbs in there in a 4 by 4 grid. That's 16 garlic plants per square foot. I plant them in there, I level the soil off, I add my regular mulch in there on top of it, and I leave it. The snow will come, it will cover it, and in the spring you'll have nice garlic growth coming up. Now, you can plant it from the bulbous on the scapes, but I tend to eat my garlic scapes. I don't let them develop because I really enjoy them in my barbecue. Matthew's second question, how do I protect from frost my potted perennial plants? Now, this is really important. In the ground, your perennials are insulated because they're in the ground. The ground insulates them. What can cause some winter kill in some of the plants, especially perennials, is the actual cold temperatures. Now, snow is one of the best insulators around. The air that it captures is fantastic for insulating. So you typically don't see in the ground the same low temperatures as, say, the -40, which is Celsius and Fahrenheit is the same level. You don't see the -40 temperatures in the soil. You might see a -5, maybe a -10 in a really cold winter, but you really don't see it unless you're really far north, in which case those perennials probably aren't going to make it anyways. So what I'm going to do, and I have a couple of varieties. I've got a few honeyberries, a sour cherry in pots, and then some flowers. So what I'll do is I'll wrap them as much as I can. Things like bubble wrap, burlap, snow, these are all great insulators. I typically try to use something like burlap or bubble wrap first, because we may not get snow and we may get a cold snap, which could cause a lot of trouble. On the top of the soil, I just mulch it like the rest of my garden bed, so I provide kind of that insulating factor there. And then as snow is available, I'll just basically pile the snow on it, making sure to do it gently so you don't hurt the plant itself. And then in the spring, you just kind of let her melt. It's really protecting it from that cold wind and protecting the woody part from the sun, because the sun in winter can get quite hot when it's focused, especially when it's clear. What that does is that'll allow the sap to run and can cause issues with winter kill of the woody material or the plant above the surface. My third question today is Sunny asked to clarify the worm pile. So what we're essentially doing is we're making a green pile. There are very, very few brown ingredients we put in there because we don't want the pile to overheat. And by slowly adding, I'm talking like a couple of inches, a couple of centimeters a week. Just as I have green material available from the garden, I'll toss it on there. If I'm doing some brewing, and a few of you asked what that mush was, that was actually the applesauce from my hard apple cider. That video is actually coming up very shortly. I'm pretty excited about that. But that was the mush. And then 2 weeks later, I added a little bit of this. A week later, I added a little bit of that. And that slowly brings it up. That allows the worms to come in and do their business, just like I said in the video there. And that's it for this week. So if you have questions that you would really like answered, please put them in the comments section. Engage me on Facebook, Google+. Send me an email, albertaurbangarden@gmail.com. These are all great ways to get a hold of me. And I'll do my best to answer every question. If I don't put it in a video like this, I'll try my best to actually respond to you or find someone who can, because by no means am I an expert. I'm just a guy who's killed a lot of plants a lot of different ways. And I want to get to know you as well. I mean, what are your likes and dislikes? Obviously, you're here for gardening or maybe brewing or maybe my sparkling personality. But I would really like to get to know you. So feel free to engage me, kind of ask me questions. I gave you board games for an example. Another example is I am terribly clumsy. That's why usually I'm sitting down in my videos. Anyways, I appreciate you spending time with me today. I really hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you later.